Hi, I'm Chad.
And I'm Daquan. A stereotype is a fixed or overgeneralized belief about a particular group or class of people.
You thought I was Daquan, huh?
You thought I was Chad, bro.
Yeah, a lot of people would have. Hey, forget about it. Now that you know what stereotypes are, let's go around West Point and ask people their experiences of stereotypes. Forget about it. So what are some common stereotypes that you know of?
Well, having my background being hockey, one of the common stereotypes is that hockey players are generally not the best people, but I'm here to tell you that it's certainly not the case, and we do a lot of community work and help out as much as we can. So,
What's one stereotype you've heard of?
I've heard that Asians are very good at math.
What is one stereotype that you know of?
The one that white people can't jump as high as other people.
One stereotype you've heard of?
Asian people can't drive.
So one stereotype that I would say I've definitely faced at West Point is the stereotype of being from like a small town or a small state. A lot of people think, like, oh, so you listen to country music, right? Or like another one is like a lot of people are like, oh, you don't know like all these rappers, you don't know what rap music is, right? And like we still have like the internet, we still have a lot of the technology that other people have. It's like kind of weird to kind of be placed in that box already, and like other people automatically just isolate you because you think that they can't, like you can't relate when like obviously you can. So
What's one stereotype you've heard of?
One stereotype I've heard of is cross-country kids are socially awkward.
What's an example of a stereotype that you've heard of?
So an example of a stereotype would be such as if liberals don't use their brains when they think, they use their emotions.
So what's one stereotype that you experienced in your life?
Because I'm black, when I walk past females, sometimes they just clutch their
What's one stereotype you experienced?
Being pregnant has been a stereotype because people view me as lazy or trying to get out of things when really I'm medically not able to.
So can you tell us the experience that you had with a stereotype?
Yeah, one stereotype is that all gay people know how to dress well.
So can you tell us one experience that you had with stereotypes?
Because I'm not white, I never learned how to swim.
So being a woman of color, can you tell us about a stereotype you've experienced?
I think like just coming in, everybody kind of wants women of color to assimilate to like West Point and like how to act. So you see like women of color have more confidence, and people think they have an attitude like walking around West Point or talking to other people. So you kind of have to like watch what you say or how you approach people. So that was like my biggest thing coming to West Point, is kind of fixing like how to communicate with people or how to approach people.
What's one stereotype you've experienced?
So my stereotype deal with colorism a little bit. So a lot of people stereotype me to be a little bit more rugged, a little bit more aggressive person just because of my skin tone. I have darker complexion, so a lot of people assume that I'm just more aggressive than my light-skinned counterpart.
In 2016, during a research campaign, a survey was given. The findings from this survey showed that 76% of Wall Street employers admitted to the use of stereotyping an applicant when it came down to the decision whether or not to hire the applicant or not. Another example of how a stereotype can result in a missed opportunity or relationship is the example from the NASA intern in 2018. Naomi was very excited about getting her internship at NASA and decided to share it with the world. She did so in an unprofessional manner, which resulted in Homer Hickam, a NASA engineer at the International Space Station, to reply and tell her to watch her language. She then replied in a manner that was, again, unprofessional, and she stereotyped him as a regular Caucasian male who was simply not happy with the fact that she gained the internship. This resulted in her losing her internship, and it burned a bridge and any opportunity she had to work with Homer and the International Space Station. Here are other examples of public figures who have been stereotyped against but ended up not being what they were stereotyped as. The people who stereotyped them in their past, and even the ones who still do, most likely want long-lasting relationships and opportunities to do business with these people. There are two women in specific in this documentary, Oprah Winfrey and Kylie Jenner, who are females but are some of the richest people in America. Then there's Jay-Z, who has a $1 billion net worth and secured a spot on the Forbes list as a hip-hop rapper. Barack Obama has also appeared because he doesn't fit the traditional bill for a United States president by being an African American male, but he was one of the most successful presidents our nation has had. Then there's a picture of the largest black class of women to graduate West Point. You usually wouldn't expect that coming out of West Point, a school where women were once allowed, neither blacks, and that is a predominantly white school.
All right, unconscious bias is a learned stereotype that's unintentional and influences behavior. So for me, that'd be me grouping up with the only other white kid in the class and not meaning to.
So unconscious bias example for me would be if I'm a head coach for a football team and my receiver is 6'5" or 6'6" or hell even 5'9", and the person that he's going against is a white DB, 9 times out of 10 I'm going to call a fade route to that side, to that white DB, just because of the stereotypes dealing with white defensive backs. You never really see a white defensive back unless he's a safety, but a white cornerback is very rare, so I'm throwing a fade route over his head every time, 9 times out of 10.
Now we're going to go around and ask people about unconscious bias. Let's go.
An unconscious bias that I've experienced in my life is when I put on country music or I start singing country music, people's first instinct is to say, oh, I didn't know you listen to country music, or I wouldn't expect that from you.
An unconscious bias that I've experienced is whenever I'm in the club, people look at me and they don't think that I can dance, but I can really get down.
An unconscious bias that I've experienced is when I say I'm a core squad athlete, people assume that I'm a football player, but I'm actually a soccer player.
Okay, so one unconscious bias that I face as someone who's mixed is that when people ask me what ethnicity I am, and I explain to them that I'm Puerto Rican and Irish, sometimes like they'll say to me like, oh, like you're not this, or they like literally say to my face like they don't think I'm something because I don't fit like what their expectation, like I don't look like what their expectation of a person of that race to look like.
Stereotypes. I probably never got close to this knucklehead.
Stereotypes, I may not have been able to meet this old man right here.
On a serious note though, if we allow stereotypes to control our everyday lives, how are we going to prosper and become a great society as we want to be? How can I call this man one of my closest friends if I allow stereotypes about his life and about my life and my experience control my behavior? How can I find out what I'm good at in life or prosper in life without exploring each and every opportunity, without biases and stereotypes?